Hello and welcome to the Calmcast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. I'm Claire Downham, the Queen of Calm, a transformational life coach. I was a burnt out head teacher who finally made the journey to calm after years of trying, and I want to prevent you from having to do the same. The Calmcast is a series of short explorations, gently guiding you back to your natural state, which is calm and clarity. Just listen like you would listen to music, with an open mind and curiosity. There's nothing else to do. Now let's relax into today's episode. So today I am going to talk about positive thinking. But, well, you may be pleased or not pleased to hear that I am not going to tell you that that's something you need to do. If that's something you're trying to do right now, that might feel a little scary. Or it might feel like a relief. I think when I first realised that I didn't have to do that to think positively all the time, I think it took a while for it to feel like a relief. Because I suspect I thought that stopping thinking positively would be detrimental to me in some way. Turns out it hasn't been, by the way. So that's good news, isn't it? And to be fair, I think most people who meet me, talk to me, would call me that thing, an optimist. They would probably say I was quite a positive thinking person. But the joy of it is that I don't do anything about that. That seems to have happened by itself. And I hope on listening to what I'm going to share in this broadcast, you will start to see that for yourself. So here's the thing with positive thinking. There's something to do, isn't there, to your thinking in order to somehow make it more positive. And I think this is similar to something I've spoken about before in terms of quietening the mind or being in a state of meditation, things like that, is that when you create some kind of comparison in your life between a state of mind that you wish to be in and the state of mind you're currently in, comparison is just another layer of judgment. It's just judgment by a different name. You're judging something as being right or wrong. So here's some things about the nature of thought that might be helpful. Thought is not up to you. If you just start to look in that direction, if you had a day where you just went, I'm just going to notice what pops into my head with absolutely no judgment, with no righting or wronging it. I'm just going to spend a day noticing what pops into my head. I suspect you would notice a lot of nonsense. I certainly do. Maybe it's just me who has nonsense popping up in their heads, but I suspect it's everybody who has nonsense popping up into their heads. Whether it's just some random memory, whether it's a strange idea, whether it's, I don't know, it could be just about anything. I've got one at the moment that keeps popping in. I'll share it with you. So my daughter came home at the weekend from where she'd been working through the summer to get ready to go to university this coming weekend. And she she's been clearing out her room, and she's been letting go. She's been fab, actually, of letting go of stuff like programs from shows she's been in, programs from shows she's watched, little bits and pieces of stuff she's kept, like tickets and things like that. And I've had the thought, I want to go get the things she's thrown away out of the bin outside before the recycling people come a few times. And I really do liken it to being on Tinder, which I was for unfortunately quite a long time, um, or fortunately, because I do now have a lovely relationship from being on Tinder. But anyway, of the swiping left or swiping right scenario, the thought to go out and pull the things that she's very beautifully decided to let go of. She said, "I've got my memories and I've got my photographs, Mum. I don't need to keep all these bits of paper." Um, I'm just swiping left on it, and it keeps popping up. It keeps popping up. Go to the bin and get that little program of that. Go to the bin and get that thing out. And I know I don't have to do anything about it. And I also don't have to change it to a positive thought. I don't have to manipulate it and make it into something different, like, "Oh, isn't she wonderful for letting things go?" That's just sort of happening automatically when I look to the nature of thought. So that's the first thing. Thought is just random. It just pops in. It does its own thing. I don't think it's got that much to do with us. Some of our habitual thoughts really feel like they've got a lot to do with us, don't they? Like they keep popping up again and again. And if they're not particularly positive, they're more negative. And, it's air quotes around those words because I don't really particularly hold with that language. That, it's the categorization of them that's causing the problem. So the randomness is the first thing. It's just popping in. It's got nothing to do with you. It doesn't mean you're a type of personality, even if your habitual ones are a particular kind of thought. It's still this same energy of life flowing through you. And the thing is, with trying to change your negative thinking, air quotes again, for positive thinking, then there's a process there of pulling something back that has a natural urge to flow through us. If you lie on the ground on your back and you watch the clouds float across the sky, you can see there are lots of different shapes in the clouds, and you might see animals and other things in nature or whatever. You'll see shapes in the clouds, and you might see some scary shapes. But watch what happens if you just leave them alone. They just float past. And the only way you could keep hold of that shape was if you really imagined it hard inside your head and scared yourself with it. Your thoughts are the same. They've got this natural urge to flow through you. Like when I'm speaking right now, this is not scripted beforehand. It's just coming through me. There is a sense that word after word, there's a new thought. And sometimes it's so flowing that I lose it. And you'll notice sometimes I've lost it. Sometimes I'll tell you. And sometimes I'll just kind of pick it up again somewhere else and we'll go off again. If you have a thought that you don't like, that you judge as being wrong or negative or not good enough for you or shows that you're not good enough, and you want to kind of pull it back and start manipulating it and changing it for a better one, I've got to have a better thought than this, and with that, clearly a better feeling, then you're stopping a process that's got its own, It is really, I love the Tinder analogy because it's like if you swipe left, that dodgy looking bloke who's holding a fish and stood next to his sports car with his dog. Sorry, everybody out there who's got a Tinder profile that looks like that. But you just let him go, well, he's gone now. He's gone off into the ether to find somebody else to be with. If you swipe right and then start trying to have a conversation with him about how you think his profile picture is ridiculous and does he want to change it, and perhaps if he changes all these things about himself, you and him could get it on or have a relationship. But there's a lot of stuff why would you bother to do that? You wouldn't do that, would you? You wouldn't go and well, maybe you would, but to me that doesn't make sense. It feels like a waste of energy. And over time, as you kind of look to the nature of thought rather than what the content of it is, when you look at the description rather than getting caught up in the prescriptive activities, tools and techniques that you could do to correct your thinking. There is a change in your relationship with thought. There's a more ease around just letting it pass. The swiping left becomes a lot easier. And the way, to me, the ease around that comes is that there is no meaning making. There is thought. It is an energy passing through you. It is only going to stop and hang around if you make it mean something about you. It doesn't. It's just passing through you. And the final thing is that it is like a naughty toddler. Or that guy on Tinder you don't really want to talk to, because once you've started a conversation with him, he keeps popping back up again, doesn't he? And then you have to kind of block him or do something really dramatic to get rid of him. Well, if he'd swiped left in the first place and not taken him so seriously, he would have gone. And at any point you can do that, because at any point you can block him and just go, right, bye, let him float off into space and be with somebody else. And that becomes a natural process. So just get curious about this. Just notice, if for a day you just went, I don't really care what turns up in my head. I'm not going to say anything about any of it. I'm not going to judge any of it. I'm not going to try and change any of it. And I'm not going to see that this kind of thought makes me okay and this kind of thought makes me not okay. Just imagine what that would be like. Have a play with it, explore with it, have fun with it. That really is all there is to do here. Thank you so much for listening. There's nothing to do now but bring some awareness to how this is working out in your life. Listen regularly to experience longer and longer periods of calm. This has been the Calmcast with Claire Downham, Queen of Calm. Take care and keep listening.